Okay, so welcome back to the last concept in chapter 8, which is going to be 8.3, which is going to be learning the last method to calculate the cost of inventory, which is called moving average. All right. Now, of course, the calculations is going to be very, very similar, except one thing is going to be different. We are going to be actually now calculating an average cost per item. Now, in this case, right, since we're going to be calculating the average cost per item, right, every time we purchase inventory or every time we sell our inventory, it's going to change the quantity and also change the total cost value. So in this case, right, the number that we're going to continuously keep calculating is going to be the average cost per item, okay? Because this is going to be affected by every time we make a purchase and every time we sell an item, all right? So that's the main focus here, is that this is the reason why it's called moving average, is because every time we purchase something, we need to calculate an average. Every time we sell something, we need to calculate an average. So what we're doing is we're moving the average along through each scenario. Okay, hence the word moving average. But everything else is going to stay the same. Your goods available is still going to be your total cost times your total cost per item, which is going to be your total cost. All right, and the cost of goods sold is the same thing as well, except the only difference here is that instead of taking the cost per each item, we're going to be taking the average cost per item, okay? So let's dive into the example here in the PowerPoint. So again, June 1st, right? You made a purchase of 100 toys at $1.25 each, and then freight costs $25. So once again, we're going to plug those numbers in there, okay? And we're going to know that it's going to be $125 plus 25 gives you a total cost of $150, which gives you a cost per item to be $125. $1.50. Excuse me. Now in this case, right? Since this is our very first batch of inventory, right? This is all that we have. So you do need to calculate your very first one, which is this right here is your average cost, because if this ends up being your only batch of inventory, right, then your only average cost per item is going to be the cost per item, which is the $150 divided by 100 items, okay, which is going to give you $1.50. Okay, so then the very first thing that we have here is on June 3rd, we end up selling 55 units or 55 toys, right? So in this case, we're going to pop in that 55, and we only have one batch of inventory. So we're just going to take this 150, pop it down into our cost per item, and we're going to calculate that to be $82.50, and therefore subtract it out to get a new ending balance of 45 items at $67.50, okay? Now in this case, right, because we're doing average costing, right, and we don't care which batch came first or which batch came last, therefore there's no need to do any color associations or any ways to keep track of your inventory, because you don't need to. Because when we make a purchase of inventory, which is the next portion, right? So here, when we make a purchase here on June 5th, we end up buying an additional 100 toys at $1.28 with a freight of 26. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna calculate just as normal, right? What the purchase price is, which is 128, plus the freight of 26, which gives you a total of $154. But this is where we stop here, right? We don't calculate our cost per item, because in this case, we don't care about separating them. What we're going to do here is we're going to now tally up our total quantities, tally up our total cost, right? And then from there, is where we're going to solve for our average cost per item. So in this case, we have a total of 145 items, right? 45 from our previous batch that we purchased, plus the addition of 100, giving us a total of 145. And then, of course, adding up our totals of $67.50 plus an additional $154, giving you a total of $221.50. And this is where we need to start calculating our average cost per item, because now we have a new quantity and a new total cost. So therefore, we're trying to take the average, right? Spread the total cost evenly amongst the total quantity of items that we have. All right, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to calculate that it's going to be $1.5275 per item now. Okay. All right. So far, so good? Okay. So then on June 10, we made an additional purchase of 100 toys at $1.30 with a freight of 27. So once again, we're going to plug those numbers in here, right? Now that we have additional 100 items at $1.30, that's going to give us $130 plus 27 gives us a total of $157. We stop here because now we need to add our new totals now, because now we no longer have 145 items available. We now have 245 items available at a new grand total cost of $378.50. So now that we are combining our quantities and our total cost together, now we need to recalculate the average cost per item, because now we have a new quantity and a new total cost. So that means we need to spread the new total cost amongst the total quantity that we have available to now bring us to $1.5448. Okay. And this makes it simple because now we don't need to break up our cost of goods sold. Whatever we sell, we just take the average cost and we're done for, right? We don't need to keep track of what came first or if we even have enough inventory, right? We know we have 245 items available at all times. And when we sell, we know that by just subtracting it, we know that we should have enough at the end of the day. Okay. So then on June 12th, we end up selling 120 toys for $5 each. So once again, since we don't care about what batch came first and what batch came last, we just have a grand total of total inventory, right? We're going to pop that 120 items. And this time, because we calculated our average cost per item to be $1.5448, we're going to pop that in here, and we're just going to go ahead and calculate it right away to give us a total of $185.39. Okay? And of course, once again, we're going to subtract that number out to give us now a new grand total of $125 at $193.11. And this is where, once again, because we made a change in the total cost and the total quantity, we need to recalculate our average cost per item, which in this case doesn't really change by that much. Okay? Now, of course, if you're looking at a grander scale where we're looking at the 10,000th of a penny or even 100,000th of a penny, it will change drastically there. But in context of selling, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But if you are selling like large quantities and that the change from the amount of inventory that you had previously has dropped significantly, then the average cost per item will also change drastically as well. Okay, and of course, when we make purchases of inventory, right, if it's more expensive, then that will also skew the cost per item to also change as well. Right? But in this case, we sold only 120 items, so it did not change that much. Okay? But here at the end of the day, we for surely know that we have 125 costing me at $193.11. Okay? So good so far?
Yes.
Okay. So then what happens when we have beginning inventory, right? If on June 15 we had a total of 125 toys costing at $193.11, straightforward, right? We carry that average and we bring it over into the next, or that we carry our previous inventory that we solved from the previous worksheet and just carry it over to the new worksheet. So now I have 125 items available at $193.11. Okay. You don't need to separate them. There's no need to because it's an average cost. So you don't need to keep track of which came first or which came last. You're just going to carry the whole lump sum together and just carry it over into the new inventory worksheet. Okay. Then on June 18, right, we end up selling an additional 90 toys. So some straightforward, right? We're going to take that average cost of the 154.48 and we're going to pop it there and calculate that was a total of 139.04, right? We're obviously going to subtract it out to give us our new ending balance to be 35 units at a total of $54.07, which once again, we need to also recalculate our average cost, which once again, did not change that much, okay? So then, on June 21st, we end up purchasing an additional 100 toys at $1.32. So all we have to do is pop that in there, solve for the purchase price of $132 plus 26 to give us a total of $158. We stop there and we need to readjust and recalculate because now we have a total of 135 available items at a new total cost of $212.07. Now, once again, we need to recalculate our average cost per item because now we have a new total cost and a new quantity, which is going to also skew my average because this time these cost me $1.32 per item. So this is going to skew me up to $1.5708. Okay. All right. And then once again, on the 25th of June, we end up purchasing an additional 100 toys for $1.35, which gives us a total purchase of $135. Plus 27 gives you a total of $162, which once again, we now have a new total cost of $235 at a total cost of $374.07, which brings our average cost per item to be $1.5917. Okay. Then let's see, on June 27, we end up selling 120 toys for $5. So again, $120. Since it's an average cost, we're just going to take that $1.5917, pop it in there to calculate it's 101.01. Subtract that amount out to get your grand total of 115 items left at a total of 183.06. And then again, we need to recalculate our average cost per item. And this time, now the thousandth of a penny has actually skewed, right? It increased by by a thousandth of a penny, right? Now it's 159.18 of where it used to be 159.17. Okay, why is that? It's because we have rounded numbers, and every time you calculate your average, right, you're constantly changing it because of that penny, right? Okay. So then last but not least, on June 28, we end up selling 65 toys at $5 each. So you pop in that 65. Since we have a new average cost of $159.18, you're going to pop that in, and that's going to give you $103.47. And you're going to subtract that out to get you a new total inventory of 50 items at a total of $79.59. And once again, You're going to recalculate your average cost to now be 159.18. So now it's permanent. Okay. And then, of course, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we have left on our inventory on hand. Was that on June 5th, June 30th, we should have 50 items left remaining in our inventory. Okay. So this is going to be one of the easiest and most common average costing, right? In QuickBooks, we learned that average costing is the primary thing that most companies do just because it's the easiest one to do without having to keep track of what came first and what came last. And it's just again the most easiest concept or way to cost your using your costing method of inventory, right? It's better to just average everything out because at the end of the day, it's much more difficult to just keep track of what came first and what came last. Okay, but once again, that also depends on how big your company is, how many products you sell, what diverse products that you sell, right? If you sell groceries and you sell regular products, then of course you'll have the choice between periodic, perpetual, and then from there you have 6 choices, right? Which costing method is going to be work best for you, okay? But as a small business, the best way to just practice this is going to be just using the average cost per item. All right. But as you progress and become into a corporation, that's where the different QuickBooks editions will allow you to be able to exercise the other costing methods. Okay. But the most common one and the most easy one to use is average costing. And especially for perpetual inventory, it's the easiest because you're just constantly changing and updating the inventory as you go. And every time you sell something, that way you don't need to keep track of what came first and what came last. All you're doing is just constantly just calculating an average cost. And this is also one of the things that Gap also allows you to do because it's the conservatism rule, right? Where you're not overstating your assets, nor are you overstating your costs either. It's perfect. Okay. So, go ahead. You had a question?
But it's better because it's better too because the merchandise that you buy first, the product, the item that you buy first, they most of the time they lose value, no?
That is
So
true
if you have
too.
an average of cost, so
Mm-hmm.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's good. That's
Okay.
that's a good. That's a good. Yeah, definitely. If your inventory, especially if it has a potential to lose value, then averaging it out would be the best thing that you could do. Yes. So here's the chapter review, right? We learned what FIFO was, where we take our inventory and we're going to start from the top and make our way down to the bottom. Okay. And as we constantly calculate our cost of goods sold, what we're doing is we're constantly taking our first batches of inventory and just slowly going through one of them at a time. Okay. Whereas LIFO, right, we talked about this every time you sell something, right, you're always constantly going from the bottom. And if you make an extra purchase, then you're going to constantly start all over at the bottom. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be at the bottom at every single transaction. You're always going to start at the bottom of every single transaction. All right. Whereas the moving average, it doesn't matter what came first and what came last, just that you're going to be calculating constantly the average cost per item because every time you purchase, it's going to increase your average cost. Every time you sell something, it may or may not decrease or increase your average cost, right? You're constantly calculating an average cost per item because you're constantly selling and you're constantly purchasing. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and dive right into the inventory exercise. Okay. So we have plenty of time to get through this. And once again, this is actually going to go a lot quicker than you think. And I'm going to show you how I do it, okay? So your inventory method is perpetual and it is moving average. So first things first, here's we have May 5th. We purchased 1,000 units at $3 on an account with a freight cost of 100. Okay, so same exact scenario, but this time we're using moving average. So yes, our numbers are going to be a lot different, especially with moving average. Okay. So May 5th, right, we end up purchasing 1,000 units at $3 each with a freight of 100, right? So in this case, what was my total purchase? What is my total purchases?
3,000.
3,000 plus 100 gives me a total cost of
3,100.
33,100. Good. 3,100. And it's $3.10. And that is going to be because this is the first batch of inventory. Therefore, this is your only batch of inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and carry that number over across. We have 1,000 units at $3.10 each. Well, in this case, I am not going to be I'm not going to be calculating my total quantity or my total cost. I'm going to be calculating my average cost because now in this case, right, we need to solve for our average cost is because we're constantly purchasing and we're constantly selling. So in this case, the formula that's always going to be constantly changing is going to be your cost per item. So in this case, right, it's still $3.10, okay? And I'm not going to use any colors because you don't need to, right? Because we're not keeping track of what batch came first or what batch came last, okay? So then here on May 7, we end up selling 550 items, okay? So once again, 5/7, we sold 550 items. And this time, what is my average cost per item? How much is it going to cost me to sell 550 items?
$3.10.
$3.10. So once again, I'm going to throw in my equal round formula. So how much is my total cost of goods sold?
$1,705.
$1,705. Now, this is where you need to pay close attention, okay? And this is how I do it because it makes a lot easier to do. So within this row right here, right? I'm actually going to go ahead and go into the inventory on hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a formula here, okay? I'm going to say that I had 1,000 items, right? And I am going to subtract my 550 to give me a total of 450, okay? I'm also going to do that to my total cost as well, right? I started out with $3,100 and then I end up selling 1,705. So then that's going to leave me with $1,395. Okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to calculate my average cost per item, right? Taking my $1,395 and divided by my 450, and I still get $3.10, which is correct, which is fine, because that was our first batch of inventory, right? It's an even number. But once we make purchases of inventory, that number is going to get skewed. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going to just go ahead and every time I do a transaction, it's going to change the line here. And what I like to do here is because I cell referenced, I'm actually going to block that number off. Okay, I use black so that it doesn't confuse me. I don't highlight it or anything. I'm black it out. All right. Now, of course, because I cell reference this one right here, right? This is right here over here. If you guys remember, I cell referenced it, so I cannot modify it at any cost. I cannot change it at all. All right. So this is what I do. All right. So then the next time we have another transaction, it's going to change that row that you have the inventory on hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you another example, right? So now that I finished May 7th, now it's May 10th. And this time we purchased 850 units at $325 with the freight costing $75. Okay, so once again, 850 at $3.25 with a freight of 75 on May 10th. So in this case, right, what is my total purchases?
2762.50.
2760.50 plus 75.
2837.50.
2837.50, okay? So this is where we're going to update our inventory right here, right? Because now I no longer have 450 items anymore. I have an additional 850, bringing me a total of 1,300 units, right? Same thing I'm going to do here in my total cost, right? If I started out with $1,395 and I just increased it with my new batch of inventory for $2,837.50, that now brings me to a total cost of $4,232.50. Okay? And now, once again, I need to recalculate my average cost per item, okay? Which is going to be my total cost of the $4,232.50, and I'm going to divide that by my overall quantity of 1,300. And that's going to give me 3.2. And I'm going to pull it out because this is definitely going to be a long number. It's going to be 3.255769. All right? And this is where every time we make a purchase and every time we make a sale, this is where it's going to be constantly changing numbers because of the minor changes in pennies, right? And and the great thing about this too is if I hide my cells, right? If I go ahead and block that off, right? When I unveil it, I can actually see how my average cost per item either progresses or decreases, right? It's really cool, right? So again, I clear that out because I don't have 450 items anymore. I now have 1,300. Okay? So that's how I do my moving average worksheet. So let's go ahead and continue on with the next scenario. So then on May 12th, you end up selling 360 units. Okay? So May 12th, we sold 360 units, okay? Now, at what average cost per item am I selling my 360 units for? Or how much did it cost me, excuse me?
$3.255.69.
Good. So then, what is going to be my total cost of goods sold?
1,172.05. 08 you have. Okay.
I got, yeah. You might have ended the decimal too early.
Yeah, and 7. I
Good.
counted them.
Perfect. So once again, now I'm going to update my inventory, right? Because I no longer have 1,300 because I end up selling 360 units, giving me a grand total of 940 units, right? I started with 3250, and then I end up selling 117,208, bringing me now to a new total cost of 3060.42. Okay? So once again, I need to solve for my new average cost per item, which is going to be my total cost divided by my quantity of 940. And now I get a new average cost, and look at this. This is what I mean by it's going to change by very, very tiny. So in this case, this is almost a 10,000th of a penny it changed. Okay? Or sorry, 100,000th of a penny. Right? It went from 255769 to 255766. Okay? And what I'm going to do is, because I cell reference this, I'm just going to hide it. Okay? Just like that. Okay? So then, let's see what happened next. We end up selling an additional 600 units on May 15. Okay? So May 15, we end up selling 600 units, okay? At what average cost?
255,766.
Mm-hmm. Bringing my total cost of goods sold to be
1,953.46 or 4596.
mm-hmm.
6. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. So then let's update my inventory, okay? So how much should I actually have left if I sold 600?
340.
340. Okay, at what total cost?
$1,106.96.
Good. So then that brings my new average cost per item to be 3.255765. Okay, so it dropped another 100,000th of a penny. Okay. Boom. All right. So then let's see what happened next on May 20th. We end up purchasing 300 units at 350 with a freight costing 20. Okay. So it is May 20th. Okay. We purchased 300 units at 350 with a freight costing $20. So in this case, what's my total purchase price?
1,050.
1,050 plus 20.
1,070.
1,070. So now let's go ahead and update our inventory because now we have new quantity. So what is my new total quantity?
640.
640. Okay. What's my new total cost?
2176.96.
Good. Okay. So then that should bring my new average cost per item to be now $3.41.5. Okay. All right. So change definitely drastically because of the average because we purchased these inventory items at a higher price. Okay. So now we have 640 units available. Okay. So then on May 22nd, we end up selling 400 units. So 450 units, excuse me. So we sold 450 on May 22nd. May 22nd, 450 units. Okay. At what average cost?
The 3.401500.
Mm-hmm. So then what is my total cost of goods sold?
1530.675.
Good. 675. Round that up to 68. Okay. So let's update our inventory. How much should we have left in my inventory? How much items should I have left in my inventory? If I had 640 and I sold
190.
190 left, okay, at a new total cost of
$646.28.
good, which brings my new average cost per item to be 340.1474. Okay, so this one definitely changed by a lot. So then let's see what happened on the 25th of May. We end up purchasing an additional 650 units at $3.75 each with a freight of 50. So 650. 650 at 375 with a freight of 50. Okay. So on May 25th, so in this case, what's my total purchases?
$2,437.5.
Good. Plus 50.
2,487.5.
Good. So then I gotta update my inventory. So how many items do I actually have in my inventory now?
650.
950. 650 plus 190 is 840.
840, yes.
Okay. What's my new total cost? What's my new total cost if I had 646.28 and I just purchased $2,487.50? What's my new total cost?
$3,133.78.
Good. Okay, and that's going to bring my new average cost per item to be now $3.73.069. Okay. So that's just simply taking my total cost right here and dividing it by my total quantity. Okay. All right. Good. Let's see. Then on May 27th, we end up selling an additional 740 units at $10.25, bringing me a remaining of 100 items left. So 740, right? It is May 27 and we sold 740 items, okay? At what average cost?
With 3730690.
Good. Bringing me a total cost of goods sold to be
2,760.866.
okay, so you rounded up too early,
I use all the numbers.
or maybe I think
It's too many.
there's more
Too
than
many.
6 9. Yeah, there's too many numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and update our inventory because now we no longer have 840. How many items do we actually have left? 840 minus 740?
So 100.
100. Okay. If we started out with 3,133.78 and we sold 2,760.71, we should have a total now of 373.07, which then gives me an average cost per item to be $3.73.07. Okay. And there we have it. We have the end of our inventory, which is 100 items. Okay. At the 373, right? Just like that. All right. So far, so good.
Yes.
Okay. So then again, number 2 asks to continue on from above, okay, and your inventory method is perpetual and is still moving average. So in this case, right, we have beginning inventory. What we're going to do is you have 2 options here, okay? You can continue on with using the same exact worksheet if you would like. It's just you'll just be scrolling down more. Or you can actually go ahead and just copy this one line right here for the 100 items at 3.7307 to give you a total cost of 373.07. Or you could copy that into your new inventory worksheet. And in this case, because I have 2 worksheets, I'm just going to go ahead and copy that information over. So May 31st, you should have a total of 100 items, which equaled 373.07, which then, remember, you need to keep your formula in the cost per item section because you're constantly calculating the average cost per item. So you should still get the same answer of the 373.07. So let's go ahead and continue on with June. So then on June 5th, we end up purchasing 800 units at $4 each with a freight cost of $100. So this is June 5th. We purchased 800 units at $4 each with a freight of $100. Okay. So in this case, what is my total purchases?
3,200.
3,200. Okay. Plus 100 gives me a total cost of
3,300.
3,300. So now let's go ahead and update our inventory because now we no longer have 100 items. We have 900 items. Okay. With a total cost of
$3,673.07.
good. All right. Which then brings my new average cost per item to be $4. Okay, $4.8119. I'm gonna change all of these to show exactly that many decimal points. Okay, so now I've bought new inventory since it cost me $4 instead of $3.75. That definitely brought up my average cost by a lot. Okay, so now it's at 408.119. Okay. So then on June 7th, we end up selling 350 units on June 7th. 350 units, okay? At an average cost of 408.119. So therefore, what is going to be my cost of goods sold?
$1,428.42.
1,428.42. Good, excellent. Okay. So then I need to update my inventory because I no longer have 800 units. I'm sorry, 900 units. Okay. So what's my new quantity?
550.
550. Okay. What's my new total cost?
$2,244.65.
Good. Okay, bringing my new average cost to be 4.8118. So that changed by 10,000th of a penny again. All right, so let's see what happened next. Then on June 10, we purchased an additional 750 units at $4.25 each with a freight of 75. So 750, 425, 75. Okay. 750 at 425 with a freight of 75 on June 10. So in this case, what is my total purchases?
3,187.50.
Good. Plus 75.
3262.50.
Okay. So let's add that to our inventory on hand. So 550 plus 750 gives me a total of
1,300.
1,300. Okay. 2244.65 plus my 3262.50 should be equal to 5507.15. Which then changes my average cost per item to be. Someone calculate this. Which one? What number is this one right here?
4.23626.
Good. Good. Awesome. Okay. All right. Good. So now we have 1,300 items left to sell. Okay. Then on June 12th, we end up selling 450 units. Okay. So let's see, we end up selling 450 units on June 12th. Okay. At our average cost per item to be of $423,627. So in this case, what is going to be my total cost of goods sold?
$1,906.32.50.
Good. Okay. So let's update my inventory. All right. If I sold 450 units, how much do I actually have left?
850.
850. Okay. Add a new total cost of
7,413.47.
okay, you added.
Okay. Subtract.
Yeah.
3,683.
Yes. Good. And then that should bring your average cost per item to be $4.23627. So no changes there. Okay. I'm gonna hide this. Okay. All right. Let's see what happened next. Then on June 15, we end up selling an additional 500 units at $10.50. So 500 is what we sold. So 500, okay, it is 6/15, June 15, okay, at an average cost of the 6.23627. So in this case, what is going to be my total cost of goods sold?
$2,118.14.
Good. All right. So once again, because we sold more units, right? When we update our inventory, what is now our new quantity? What is our new total quantity that we have left?
350.
350. Good. At a new total cost.
34.23626.
Good. All right. So then let's see what happened next. Then on June 20th, we end up purchasing 600 units at 405 with a freight of 20. 600, 405, and 20. 600, 405, and 20 on June 20. So once again, what's my total purchases?
2,430.
2,430 plus 20.
2,450.
Good. So once again, let's update our inventory, right? Because I no longer have 350 items. I now have 950 items. Okay. What's my new total cost?
$3,932.69.
Good. Now, of course, we made a purchase of inventory. So what is my new average cost per item?
$4.14.
$4.13967. Yes. Okay. Good. So then on June 22nd, we end up selling 250 units at $10.50 each. So we sold 250 on June 22nd. So at an average cost of the 4.13967. So therefore, what is going to be my cost of goods sold?
1,034.92.
Good. So let's update my inventory once again because I no longer have 950 because I end up selling 250. So I should have a total of 700 left. Okay. All right. What's my new total cost?
$28.97.77.
Good. 28.9777, which then brings my new average cost per item to be 1.13967. So no changes there. All right, almost done, guys. June 25th, we end up purchasing an additional 350 units at $4.35 each, with the freight costing you $50. And I forgot the number that I purchased. So I purchased 350 units at $4.35. So 350 at $4.35 with a freight of 50 on June 25th. So therefore, what's my new purchases, or what's my total purchases?
It is 1,522.5.
Good. Plus 50.
1,572.5.
Good. All right, so let's update my inventory. So I started with 700 units, and I just purchased 350 units. So I should have now a total quantity of
1,050.
good. Okay. I'm gonna add my total costs here of my 28.9777 plus my $1,572.50 to give me a grand total of $4,470.27. So therefore, what is my new average cost per item?
4.25740.
Good, excellent. And good. Last but not least, on June 27th, we end up selling 550 units at $10.50 each. So $550 is what we sold to give us a remainder of 500 on June 30th. So June 27, we sold 550 units. So at an average cost of the 4.25740. Okay. So therefore, what is my cost of goods sold?
$2,128.7.
2,100 and what?
28.7.
No, I did not get that. Let's do that again to equal round.
2,341.57.
2,341. Yes. Good. All right. So let's subtract that out, right? Because 1050 minus 550 is going to give me my ending balance of 500. Okay. At what total cost?
$2,128.70.
Good. Which brings my new average cost per item to be 4.25740, which did not change. Okay. Excellent. And that's the end of this exercise. Any questions? So once again, this is by far the easiest one. You don't need to keep track of any inventory that happened before or after. The only difficult part, I would say, or the most tedious part, is having to recalculate your average cost per item. Now, in this case, with Excel, it makes it that much easier, right? You just pop in the formula, drag it all the way down, and it will help you calculate constantly over and over and over again. However, that's just one of those things that you have to figure out when it is average cost per item, is that you're constantly recalculating that cost. So in this case, any questions in regards to chapter 8.2 or 8.3?
No.
No? All right. Well, I guess we're going to be done for the day. So again, tomorrow we're going to be diving into the chapter 8 review, okay? Which should be